What is up guys, Andy Forrestine Runner here, and today we're going to be going through the running shoes that I've purchased in this first third of 2021 and seeing how they've been used. Welcome back to another video, and today what I wanted to do is sit down and go through with you guys, recapping, reviewing and letting you know how I've been using the shoes that I've purchased in this first third of 2021. Now what I like to do normally since the back end of 2019 is produce a video every third or quarter of the year, because what I like to do is switch up my rotation 3 or 4 times a year, get some new shoes in and give you guys obviously the reviews that I put out on this channel. But what I like to do is give a quick summary and recap of what we have been using throughout this first block of 2021 in terms of the new shoes that we've purchased. Some are good, some haven't been that good. So what I thought is, considering we have a marathon this weekend and we're coming up to the end of April, be a great time to sit down and go through all these shoes, give them a yay or a nay, and let you guys know how we've been getting on with them. If you're excited for today's video guys, make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and we'll kickstart with the first shoe. So we're going to kickstart things with the Vomero, the Nike Vomero 15, a shoe that technically I actually purchased in the back end of December in 2020. So in theory, it just falls outside the parameters, but because it was quite a down week during the time that I picked up the shoe and was doing the testing, and I've put the majority of the miles in 2021, and it has been an absolute staple in the mileage in 2021. As it's my video and my rules, I'm going to bump it into the start of this video. And to be fair, it deserves a little bit of spotlight. It missed out on the Running Shoe Awards 2020. It wouldn't have won any awards, but either way, it deserves a bit of airtime, to be fair. I reviewed some really not so exciting Nike shoes, and to be fair, this is the first Nike shoe that I've reviewed in a while that I actually got on with quite well. As I just said, it soaks up a lot of the easy and moderate miles. I really enjoyed it for that purpose, and it basically took me up to halfway throughout the marathon training block. It was really good, and I enjoyed it, to be fair. It was good without being spectacular, amazing. Yes, there are better shoes out there for the easy and moderate stuff. The Mach 4 right now that I'm using would obliterate this thing, and yes, it's quite heavy. But what was quite nice about this shoe was the midsole. I really just felt like this is what the Pegasus should have been. I said it in the old videos. This is, for me, is what the Pegasus should have been. It's a much softer, bouncier midsole. The airbag feels a lot more prominent in the front. I get that cushion sensation. It's just a plodding shoe, and it did the job for me really well. So would I recommend it? I'm not 100% sure I recommend it as such. As I said, we've got the Mach 4, the Nova Blast straight away will do a better job than this shoe, and there are plenty of other ones, the 1080 series from New Balance. They're all better than this shoe, but to be fair, it wasn't horrific, and I'm grateful that I picked up a Nike shoe that wasn't that bad. And then we shift our attention to the Hoka One One Carbon X2, a shoe that I was really excited to pick up. Bought this one from my local sports shoe shop, Gloucester Sports, and sadly, this thing hasn't seen the light of day since its first 2 test runs. Now, let me explain. I wanted to get this shoe because the version 1 was my first ever plated racing shoe. I raced some PBs in that shoe back last year. Loved it. Thought it was a great shoe. Bought the Rocket X back in December or November, whenever that thing came out, and loved the Rocket X. And for me, straight away, I'm going to say, if you love the Carbon X version 1, then the Rocket X is the shoe you want to go for. It's a much better shoe. This thing was very much geared up, in my opinion, and I had a few discussions with some people in the comments back when I did the reviews of this shoe, I still treat this shoe as a marathon racer and up. Obviously it's geared up for ultras, but I'd still consider it as a marathon racing shoe. A lot of people do. However, a lot of people share the same opinion that actually it's reserved for ultra marathon racing, and I can understand that. Maybe I'm just hanging on to the fact that I raced longer distance races in the Carbon X version 1, like the 20 miler and marathons and stuff like that, and maybe I just thought this should be the same. I have a feeling what they've done is they've bumped this shoe up towards the ultramarathon distance and they've made the Rocket X more half marathon to marathon. I don't know. Either way, whatever Hoka's plans were, the Rocket X is an absolute gem. And sadly, this thing just ended up being too heavy. It's a very big shoe on foot and it is weighty. It's put on a lot of weight since version 1. That's going to be a lot to do with extra materials on the upper, all this extra midsole and rubber outsole back here. It's just a lot going on in terms of the bottom half of the shoe, and sadly it just hasn't found its way back into my rotation. And then I thought I would try a brand that I haven't been able to try for a very, very long time, mainly because their Adidas range, anything which seems to be with light strike and the SL20s and all of those types of shoes, including their racing shoes, don't go up above 12.5, UK 12.5, and I'm a UK 13, or an Adidas would be 13.5. But it transpires I can try their Boost shoes. I have had Ultra Boost in the past. It didn't twig to me that I could try other Boost shoes. I just thought the Ultra Boost was kind of that fashion / running shoe that they made in bigger sizes that I could try. But it transpired that I could try the Solar Boost, so we ended up trying out the new Adidas Solar Boost 3. Another shoe that was rather underwhelming, good without being spectacular, but something that I thought there was going to be a lot of excitement around because I've heard loads of people say great things about older versions of Solar Boost. But it seems like as things have gone on, like with a lot of shoes, it's just gained a lot of weight. It's very heavy in my size. And once again, there's a lot going on, excuse me, in this bottom half. The boost, the midsole, the outsole, it makes everything quite heavy. So I did start to use this shoe for easy runs. I tried it with a moderate run. It just felt rather cumbersome. It was okay, but there was nothing spectacular about it. So I ended up sticking to easy runs. And then we had another shoe that came into the rotation, which we'll talk about next, which was the shoe that ended up kicking this thing into touch. And once again, I haven't used this thing for a good 4, 5, 6 weeks. On the whole, I can't say it's a bad shoe. I kind of have similar feelings to this about the Vomero. I wouldn't recommend it to people. It's a shoe that is, as I said, good without being great or spectacular. It's got no bells and whistles. There's nothing on this thing that makes me think, yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. It's just another shoe that I got, which is relatively, to be honest, plain average. So after that relatively average start to the year with those shoes, things get a little bit better with these last two. We start with the Hoka One One Mach 4, a shoe that has become an absolute staple in my lineup over the past few weeks. We only did a 100-mile review on this thing only about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I think now, and already we're up to, I think it was only 2 weeks ago or 3, I can't remember. We're already up to nearly 150 miles in the shoe already and rising. This has become my go-to easy day, moderate day shoe. When I got it initially, you would have seen by my first reviews on the shoe, I was a little bit underwhelmed with how it performed at those higher paces. It just doesn't have the pop that I thought it would have. In fact, dare I say, I go as far as saying it felt a little bit flat. Didn't feel like it had much life to it. But actually, after using this more and more and more, it has become very much apparent that it has become such a good, easy and moderate and marathon paced effort shoe. No more. I don't like to kind of push it. I have taken it on a few more interval workouts lately, but that's only because there's been no pressure on the interval workouts because I've been tapering. I wouldn't have taken it if I really had to give it some welly. So I do take it on faster stuff as well, but it's not its forte. It really does, for me, stick in that early stage, easy, moderate, marathon paced effort zone. And to be fair, this thing, as I said, it's kicked the Solar Boost 3 into touch. I cannot stop picking this thing up week in, week out. It is a testament to the shoe. The comfort levels for me are high. As I said, once I got over that initial underwhelming factor that it didn't quite live up to the early hype, it's now really becoming such a go-to shoe for me, which is great. I'm really glad to finally get a shoe on my feet this year that I can say is as good as this thing. And then we finish on an even bigger high with the Nike ZoomX Vaporfly Next Percent 2. So grateful this shoe came out when it did, early April or end of March, because it allowed us some time for testing, ready for this weekend's marathon. And I knew that if the upper was going to be as good as I hoped it would indeed be my racing shoe of choice. And it is. I have been able to test it twice now on a Canova workout and another longer workout, getting myself up to around 23, 24 miles in the shoe already, nice and broken in, ready for the race. So I was super excited to get this shoe because this is the only real shoe that Nike have delivered for me that I've really, really enjoyed and can basically put them on a pedestal and say, yes, this is a very, very good shoe. I knew that with the version 2 it was all about the upper, the midsole. I can't even get my words out. The midsole and the outsole have not changed from version 1, but the upper was completely different, and it was going to all be about whether for my wider foot this mesh material was going to be better to mold around than the plastic of the upper on the original version 1, and I can confirm for the wider foot person like myself it did. I really did enjoy it, despite the fact that it's a little bit looser around the ankle collar area. I'm loving the update to the upper on this shoe, and again, as I said, I've used it so far on just a couple of workouts, and once I've used it on there I will be reserving this thing for more races coming up later this year. I'm going to strictly use this thing for racing, and then the version 1 I'm actually going to maybe start using on the odd workout here and there, start putting the mileage into that, because these are the type of shoes that you invest the money into and you want to get every penny back from them. You don't want to waste them, you don't want to retire them early, you want to run them into the ground. So I certainly want to do that with version 1, and the even better thing about this is it was cheaper than version 1. I got a discount on it, came in at about 180, 190 pounds compared to the 240 that you pay for version 1, which is absolutely fantastic, making it an even more compatible and more comparable price to all of the other super shoes out there with the plates, and this thing for me is still number 1. So there we go, those are the 5 shoes that have arrived on my doorstep and I've been able to test during this first third of 2021. There is actually one other shoe that was the mystery shoe that was sent to me by the viewer Nick from Germany, which was the Odyssey React 2, which was amazing, and the whole premise behind that was I'm not a fan of React midsole, but he was like, you must try the older React shoes. He very kindly sent me one, and I agree that Odyssey React is a fantastic shoe. So that's the other one, I just haven't included it because it wasn't a 2021 release as such. But those are the shoes that I've tested and got. It's obviously, as you can see, got better over into the year. The beginning was a little bit flaky with some of those shoes, but I can assure you in the next third of the year we're going to be getting some good shoes in for testing, if of course they come in my size. I can't wait to try out more shoes leading into May, June, into those summer months, and giving you guys some more updates on these new releases. Let me know what the shoes have been for you that have been your go-tos in this first quarter or third of 2021. What have you loved? What have you hated? What's been a really great shoe and what's been a bit of a disappointment? Let me know in the comments below and let's get that discussion going. If you enjoyed today's video, guys, make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Until then.